Right, we're on stage. Well, I say stage 3, it's probably more like stage 5 now of making the cake, and I'm just trying to gauge whether the consistency of the batter mix is okay. I've added the butter, I've added the eggs, and I've also added the milk. And what I did with the batter, it might look a bit lumpy, it's because I didn't actually melt the butter. I didn't feel confident enough to do that, because my worry was I might have burnt it if I tried. But I did sieve in the mixture, which is something I would recommend. Or I think when I did home economics at school, they said you're supposed to sieve in the flour or the ingredients, and it helps to aerate the sponge. But if you beat too much air into it, that's also bad. But I mean, I'm almost 40 now, and I think the last time I ever went on a so-called professional catering or cooking course was a good 10 years ago. So I don't really know how well this is going to turn out. I'm not really sure. I think it might be a little bit too watery, which means it will take longer, if I'm right, for it to bake out if there's too much liquid in. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a professional cook. And when I do cook, everyone always laughs at what they end up having, because like I said before, it either ends up being burned or it ends up being undercooked. So I will stir this for a little bit longer just to get the bits around the edge into the batter mix. And like I said, I mean, with the Department of Work and Pensions really want to assess whether the people that they are judging as to whether to be disabled or not can do certain things. Because I think one of the questions they ask is, can you cook? But what they really mean is, can you now use a microwave? Because you can get eggs that are peeled, you can get everything chopped up for you, and all you've basically got to do is pierce the lid and put it in the microwave for the right amount of time that it says on the packet. So as long as you can read the packet and you can read the microwave, then there's no reason why, in theory, anyone trying to claim to say they can't cook should be entitled to that money. And I think that's the excuse that they gave me, or that they've given people in the past. Whereas before, they asked me 10 years ago, when, even though they refused me then, they asked me if I could cook a chicken. They asked me if I could cook a Sunday dinner. And I was like, no, I order in, or I go out for dinner. I go to the Toby Carvery, or, a carvery, which during COVID wasn't something that was possible. So I am waffling, and I do apologise. I'm just like I said, I'm trying to gauge whether this will be okay or not whilst talking into my phone. But yeah, I mean, the problem is, it's one of those things. I mean, I always talk about the Department of Work and Pensions. I always talk about certain benefits and stuff when I'm doing things, because everybody seems to be within a rock and a hard place. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Whereas my attitude has always been, ask you don't get, don't ask you don't want. So if in doubt, ask. And even if they say no, ask again, but ask somebody else. Because, I mean, I do get disability living allowance now. Would I want to be on disability living allowance? Considering I've now been formally diagnosed with a disability, yes, I don't see why I shouldn't be entitled to it. But at the same time, part of me does miss, not having that independence. Because once you are sort of ball and chained to the Department of Work and Pensions, they will literally go through your social media information. They'll want to see your bank accounts. They'll even sit outside your house to see who comes to visit you. It's like being in prison, but not in prison. And the way you're treated, I mean, people say, oh, your benefit scroungers and all that. And it's like, to be honest, a lot of people that I know that do claim things like disability living allowance, when you actually ask them, they say, if I was well enough to work, I would want to work. Why on earth would I want to be tied to a disability which I constantly have to explain to the government that I have, just so that I can get 60 quid a week to live on. When if I worked, I know I could probably get double that. You know, and I would have the opportunity to go on holiday when I wanted, providing I could afford to. I would have the opportunity to visit my friends, visit my family. But people with disabilities like myself, I mean, some days I'm just grateful that I can actually get out of bed. And I know I'm making chocolate cake, so I do apologise. And that I can actually still make it to the toilet. Because on those days when I can't, you know, it's not fair on my kids. It's not fair on anyone when you having to phone them up and say, look, you know, I'm really sorry, but is anyone available to help me just for like half an hour? Just to give me that time to sort of sort myself out. And, you know, and it is, anyone with a disability, whether it's a hidden disability or not, will know exactly how it feels when you have to fill in or get someone to fill in paperwork for you and have to justify just to get something ridiculous like 60 quid a week to live on, that yes, you are disabled and this is how your disability affects you. So I'm going to shut off now because I'm being too preachy and I do apologise. But when I'm, you know, on my own, which is hardly ever, because it's a double-edged sword, but I don't want to go into that. I do find that my mind tends to race a lot more, and when I'm trying to record stuff, I tend to just say what I'm thinking and feeling at that time. So I do apologise. So let's carry on with the cake.